let's roll. Co-pilot on the passenger side, we so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. Co-pilot on the passenger side, we so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. She give me a.
Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome to another one, man. It's your boy Rob One, and this is Sparking Conversation. And y'all know what I do each and every week. I get up here and I talk to some of the world's most interesting people. And y'all know I'm going to do the same thing this evening, right? But before we get into all that, I got to do the same thing that I do each and every week, and that is give a shout out and give thanks to all the people that download the audio version of this platform, because y'all are the real MVPs. I say that each and every week. Thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. Y'all all over the world. Y'all keep rocking with your boy. Y'all go back and watch past episodes. Y'all download the new ones. It's just really love, man. And I thank y'all because I understand what this podcast space is really about. It's about the audio. So thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all from the bottom of my heart. Okay. So tonight, I have a guest scheduled to come on tonight, right? We want to talk a little bit about, Latino history and Afro-Latino history, right? So hopefully they tap in a little bit so we could get, that conversation going, because I felt like it was really important for us to really, start figuring out ways to kind of put this thing together, right? Because most of us, like I say all the time, we're so separated by some of the worst things. And a lot of times complexion and race and language and all of these other things is what keeps us separated. When in reality, it's just okay to be different. But the circumstances that we're all faced with are the same. And we all have to deal with those circumstances the same way. But for some reason, we overlook that part just because of what we're looking at, like what's obvious to us, right? It's obvious how a person looks. It's obvious what a person's complexion is. It's obvious what a person's language may be if you hear them speak. You can't just look at a person and assume they speak a certain language, but once you hear them speak, then you can understand, okay, well, this is what they speak or whatever. Doesn't necessarily mean that's where they're from either. Sometimes some people know different languages, right? But it's so many things that's being used against us to separate us at this particular time. And it's being done at a high level. So that's why I felt like tonight's conversation was going to be important. Now, if my guests don't show up, that's fine, right? Because it's a bunch of things that we need to talk about as my members of Spark of Conversations, my conversationalists. That's what I call y'all, my conversationalists. All my people that get up here each and every week and y'all rock out with your boy, right? I bet. So look, this is what we're going to do, because I keep being told that, Rob, when you go live, you don't be sharing your live, yo. And I'm like, yo, it's cool, right? Because a lot of times I be working, like trying to really make it happen, right? And so I'm really trying to figure all this thing out, right? And make sure that I, do all the things necessary that I need to do to make sure that this platform continues to grow, right? Because that's the main thing, right? We want to make sure that the platform grows, because, man, look, man, there's so many different things that people could be doing, right? And whenever you kind of put that into a perspective and you say to yourself that, yo, at all aspects, sometimes you might need to slow down a little bit. And I feel like that's something that I need to do. Like, I be really ready to get into the show to the point where I just go, right? And I don't think about, just take your time, you know what I'm saying? Flow through it. And like I said, y'all, this is a learning thing for me too. As much as, even though I'm at 139 episodes, I'm really pushing through to make sure that I learn this thing and really become the person that I'm supposed to be in this information space, right? So here what we're gonna do. I'm about to share my live real quick, right? Because most people, they would think that, like, this is easy to do. Like all the stuff that we got going on is easy to do, and it's not, right? Um, and I feel like, yo, at this particular point in time, you know, we all gotta be focused on something more than what we're faced with each and every day. I just want to be honest with y'all, right? Because a lot of things that we be faced with each and every day, it can be considered a distraction though, yo. And I know a lot of people wouldn't really look at it like that because they look at it as basic every day, right? You know, especially if you do the same thing every day, right? Most people will look at their lives and feel like, nah, I go to work every day. Yo, you know, I pay my bills, or, you know, I pick my kid up from daycare, or, you know, I cook, or, you know, whatever your normal routine is. And people look at that and they don't look at that as a distraction because they look at that as life. Like this is just normal life or whatever. But I just know that for each and every person that's watching this right now, watching me, or have an inkling to watch anything of mine, I want you to know, and I think you know that, you know, you were just meant to do more than that. And I'm sorry that it's taking you to have to look at life in a way where you feel like the things that you're dealing with is more of a burden than a blessing than it is for you to really actually feel like, yo, I could really change the circumstances in my life. You know, it's just like so many people blame things that go on in their life on other people versus really looking at the fact that even if it is another person's fault while you're going through something, that damn, you can really still change it. It might be tough, it might be hard, you know what I mean? It might take you a little while, but if you really want to change the circumstances and the situation, you really can. Like, kind of just put that into a perspective. Like, when most people they talk about it, they say, yo, I've been working all day. My job is stressful. I've been going through this and the third. And then they got all these gifts and talents that they sit on or they barely put the effort into, right? Or they got a knack to be able to do something, or they started a business or something. And if these people don't focus on really honing in on their business so they can replace the thing that is really bothering them every day and making them feel a certain way, then why are they complaining? That's what I like. I be wanting to ask people, right, that really have a way out. Like, why won't you get out? Like, why? It's like somebody that is in a prison, but the gates are open. Like the cell is open, all the doors, all the way in the prison is open. You can walk out at any time you want to. But for some reason, your mind will keep you right in that cell or in the area where the cells are because that's just the way that your mind is set up versus you actually saying to yourself, yo, I really can get out of here. There's nothing really holding me here but me. And that's a lot of what us, you know, people that's dealing with in their lives, man. They the ones that's holding themselves back. They blaming other people and other things. They're blaming their children. They're blaming their jobs. They're blaming their family for why they can't really get to where they supposed to be or do the things they're supposed to do. Right? But it's really not their fault. How many, like, think about how many like minded people be around each other, but yet they don't really buckle down and get to the business of the things that they do around each other so they could change their perspective, right? Because so often, you know, we focus, right? But we focus on the wrong things. We focus on everything that make us feel bad. Because the things that make us feel good, we feel like those experiences only happen by happenstance, right? It's just by chance that we get those opportunities to feel good versus us looking at each other and saying, yo, you know that the way that we put energy into anything else, we could put energy into feeling good. We could put energy into being happy. We can really force our situations to be good and great the way that we want it to be. All we got to do is really focus in on it and make sure those are the thoughts that we're having versus having these negative and insecure thoughts about things all the time. You know, I promise you. You know, if you guys study anybody that you consider to be wealthy, now I'm only saying it about wealth because wealth equals freedom. Now, if you don't want to be free, then I understand. And most people, you know, they don't think or they consider themselves free. But here's the thing I know, because I hear this all the time from people, You know, everybody's not meant to be a boss. Everybody's not meant to be a leader. Some people are meant to go work for other people, and I get that, right? Not arguing. I wouldn't argue with a person on something like that if that's their perspective. But what I will say, it just depends on that person. I will say that. It depends on whoever that person is, because technically there's a lot of people out here who just put money into things that makes money and they don't have to do it. So it's kind of like I get where people coming from when they say that, but then again, I don't subscribe to that because people say that. Because to me, that's a cop out to be able to say that, right? Not everybody is meant to this and not everybody is meant for that. Well, then, okay. But then if that's the case, then why is everybody expecting to go to heaven? If everybody is expecting that all they have to do is confess this and claim that in order for them to get to heaven, if everybody feels like they could get there, then I don't understand why everybody can't be free. Like, I don't understand. Right. And then when I think about freedom, I don't think about freedom in a way where you could just do what you want, right? Because we got to have respect to person. When I think about freedom, I think about not only to be able to go or do what you want or be places that you need to be, but I also think about it from a perspective of just your mindset. Do you know how many people out here who go through things each and every day where it's their mind that keep them captive? Not so much just their circumstances that are around them, because those are the things that we could change. It's just that so many of us, we fight against that change because it's uncomfortable. We think about starting over as if it's a burden, not looking at starting over as a blessing, because there's somebody who wish they could start over the next day, and we're here. You know how many of us plan things that go far out, like y'all birthdays? Like, I don't know. Like, it's a lot of people right now planning birthdays that's going to happen in November and December and stuff like that, because you got faith and you believe you're going to get there. So you planning it out now, right? So it's the same perspective when it comes to life. Like, why can't we look at life the same way? Force yourself to think about these things. So look, check this out. Y'all know the vibe. I always tell y'all each and every week, man, double salute to all of y'all that join us each and every week. Make sure y'all understand the comments are wide open, okay? Because tonight's conversation is going to be just about that, because I always want to be able to give y'all the real, and we're going to bridge the gap between, what's really real out here, because like I said, they keep using all of these different things to keep us separated, more so than we need to look at the way that our circumstances is that makes us the same. All right. So before I get into bringing my guest up and all that other stuff, because we're going to talk about some things, I'm telling y'all, it's going to be a great conversation tonight. Because listen, there's so many different things that I know. Me growing up, like, where I'm from in New Jersey, it's like I grew up with Latinos, right? It wasn't a thing where it was just like, blacks are separated and this, that, and the third and all that other shit. It wasn't like that. I grew up with them. They were part of my family, a part of our life. It's the same thing. I grew up with Puerto Ricans. So understanding the culture and understanding what's going on, but we also want to talk about a couple of other things. So look, before I get into that, let's do what we do each and every week. We know we got to give our rant, because what I want y'all to pay attention to is, like, you know there's a lot of things right now that's screaming, America. And when it comes down to our brothers and sisters over in Puerto Rico, a lot of things that we don't think about is that, there's a such thing called the Jones Act. Now, I'm not saying that we're gonna get into this conversation tonight. That'd be something that probably, probably have to be set up and really get into. But for those of y'all that's watching, I want y'all to really look into that, right? Because now is a time for us to understand our culture. Because when you see these people, you got to see indigenous people. We can't keep looking at things and looking at ways to keep us separate more than we need to look at things to bring us together. Okay, and that's number one. Out of all the things that we want to do in this life, we got to find ways to bring us together more so than we go to keep us separate. All right. So this is what I'm gonna do, because I got my guests on. I got my guests in the wing. So we're gonna bring her up right now so we can get into this conversation, because there was a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, but for time's sake, we gonna get that on the next one, right? Because it needs its full and its own attention, right? Because it's a lot of stuff going on out here. So look, let me bring my guest up real quick and let's see what's going on.
Like 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Hi.
all right. What's going on? How you doing? I mean, you need some time? Huh?
Yeah, I wanted to post it because I was trying to figure out how to do the link, put the link on my thing. So,
All right, back. No, go ahead. Do your thing. It's okay. Just
okay.
I'll keep talking junk while you doing that. It's all up. I bet. So, listen, I want all of y'all out there to understand tonight the comments will be wide open, okay? And y'all know what to do. Y'all get in there if y'all got any questions or anything that pops up from tonight. Y'all know what to do. Put it in there, and that way we can try to get these things answered for y'all, all right? Because it's gonna be a great conversation because there's a lot of history and a lot of things that we don't know about, and I think that the most important part about having a platform is that we need to be able to give out information, even if it ain't clickbaitish. Y'all know the vibe. Everybody's platform out here nowadays, if it ain't about what's going on in entertainment and distractions, they not with it, right? So this is gonna be good. And then once we get into it, yo, I want y'all to do me a favor. I want y'all to make sure y'all follow her, at Black Tina. And I know on Instagram, you know what I mean, is where I communicate with her the most. So y'all go out there and check it out because at the end of the day, she does put up a lot of information about the things that she talks about. All right. So we're gonna get into it in a second. All right. Cause she's getting the word out right now. She wants to get the word out to the people that we about to rock and roll.
Okay, sorry about that.
Now you good. Let's
Under
let's get
pressure,
to it.
under pressure. It took so much longer. My apologies.
It's all love. I'm glad you made it though, right? Because that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
look, before we get into anything, just do me a favor. Just introduce yourself to the audience, and then let them know why you're on the platform this evening.
Hi, I'm NYDIA Simone. I'm the founder of BLOACTINA Media, where we amplify Afro Latino, Afro Caribbean narratives in film, TV, and art. So I am a filmmaker. I identify as a storyteller, and I use different mediums to really tell those stories. And due to the shift in film, I've actually gotten into experiences and telling stories through experiences, whether they be reading experiences, culinary experiences, and as well as like content creation and social media. So I just started to kind of like invest more in my content, which has led to like, a lot of growth in like different communities that I haven't been in. So I'm kind of like transitioning right now, but I've worked with Warner Brothers, Nike. I had a show with Telemundo, as well as like local nonprofits. Like I'm an advocate for Black women, queer people, and just like marginalized communities, such as like the Indigenous communities. I think you were talking a little bit about Indigenous community earlier.
Yeah,
So I believe in that, but I also believe in Black people putting the same energy that we put in discussing how other communities are affecting us, like that same energy into creating our own um, economies, ways of life, and just sovereignty and sustainability just for the Black community. So we don't necessarily need to coalition build out of our community. I think we have a very large community when you think about the African diaspora. And I think we have a lot of work to do just there, outside of creating coalitions like, with the Jewish community and the Asian communities and even different native populations, which I think is great. It's just I think we got a lot of work to do with speaking to Black Caribbeans, and the Black Muslims. Like we have to be on the same page with people who just look like us. And I think we spend a lot of time trying to meet other cultures, and we still are not one band, one sound in our own
gotcha.
home. So it's a little.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like all that because that's a lot of the stuff that I talk about on the platform. A lot is about how we are so separated by things because of us using our main senses, what is our visual, right? Because most of the time people go through things just based on the way they see people, right? And so like what you were saying, like when we think about Afro Latina, you know, people, the fact that we have to separate it in that particular perspective is a means of why we have a lot of work to do, right? Because if you're Latino, you're Latina. It shouldn't have to be separated by, the fact of whether you Afro or not. Because let's put it to you like
Well,
this: there's
okay.
a lot of people who originally would have been whatever considered Afro Latino, but during the Europeans and all the things that they did, of course they spliced them on down to where their skin color and their stuff looks a little lighter in different parts of different places, right? But it's still the same people. So what we have to go through is that the fact that we identify as a color is what keeps us the most separate,
I
right?
don't
For
think
me.
we're identifying as a color. I think black is a political identification, and we're just having different conversations now. But
Hmm.
we've always been from Africa. Like we never. I don't think we identify. Like when I say black, it means it's like a cultural connection more so than you just have the same color as me. It's also, texture, it's features, like, we look a certain way. So I think when people identify as black, it's not like
Hmm.
we're identifying with the color black. It's more so we're identifying with this shared cultural connection and a shared lineage. And I just want to say, like, Latino is not a race. Like you have
Right.
many races. You have Chinese Latinos. Like it's not it doesn't belong to one person. And really calling ourselves Latino, I use all the terms. I don't have an issue with terms. I think I
Right.
use the terms to so you know what I'm talking about. But a lot of
Gotcha.
us, the terms that we use are flawed. I will acknowledge that. But to identify as Latino, we are identifying with our colonizers. We're identifying as essentially like the losers of the war, like the colonized
Yeah.
people were the Latinos, and but there has always been a racial hierarchy within Latinidad. Like there's never
Hmm.
been a time where everybody was the same and we're all that has never existed. It's the same racial hierarchy that existed from 1455 to now, across Latin America, across industry, even in the church. So like there's always been racial there's also been clarity around who's who racially,
Hmm.
like everybody knows where you belong.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I just
I
thought I.
think I think I think at some point, some people could get confused by that, right? Because there's a lot of
Yes.
things where, your skin color doesn't necessarily define, because as a race of people, we encompass the whole globe, right? But they make it to seem like we only came from one place, or we only existed in one place as
Well, Africa.
melanated people, right? So they feel like everything is only there. And even if we look at the civilization, if we say that it started there, right? Even if we look at it from that perspective, still as melanated people, we still circumvented the globe. We were all over the globe. I mean,
Yeah,
this is just like, it's just been proven in so many different ways that we are. So in a lot of different instances, we still get caught up, like you said, which I agree with you 1,000%. Different things that make us identify with a colonizer, versus the fact that at one point we all were speaking one language. We all did have certain things that were the same. I mean, if we go by certain things that was based on history, we think about before the
not
Tower of Babel.
really.
Yeah, before the Tower of Babel fell,
Like
everyone spoke the
during
same language.
Bantu, like there's Lingala, there's Kikongo, like the African continent has like
Yeah,
hundreds,
yeah, you're speaking in different
hundreds
of
of
like dialects and stuff.
languages.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
so there's never, and even during enslavement, they would mix like our ancestors. That's why a lot of us now, y'all love these DNA tests, y'all love these freaking tests, but they'll have like different countries, different nations actually. They'll have Bantu, there'll be some people who are Congo, some people who are Yoruba, some people who are Igbo, like, and that was to like confuse you, but we've never only spoken like one language. Like that hasn't been, we've always been actually multilingual, like as a lineage.
Well, I mean, it's still like I said, that's we will have to do a little bit more research on that because based on the before the fall of the Tower of Babel, we all did speak the same language. So it wasn't until then that the languages were separated. If we go by, what that history
Are
has
you
been
going by
written.
Christian theology?
No, not at all. Because you got to remember, like most of Christian theology only come from basic scriptures. That's not like a thing where it was just all like universal. But the way that things were broken down, as far as the way we could see, as far as how hierarchy is done, and when it comes down to principalities and in the more spiritual space, then we could pretty much understand that there are different versions of what happened in the beginning of whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we all know that there are different things that are out there, and we all know that the secret societies exist for a reason because they keep certain language or certain information secrets for a reason, right? So we know that there are things that we're not privy to that they are, which they use against us because we don't know. But we also know that originally that was our technology and information. So for us to really sit here and act like, I mean, not me and you, but I'm just talking about as a group of people to not think that we didn't exist at a time where we wore more unison, it's kind of hard when we know that there are certain secrets that they're keeping from us. And we know that.
And I
Like, there's
think
not a.
the
Go ahead.
like idea around education being withheld is like really a really important thing, and that's something
Mm-hmm.
that I've seen like across Latin America when it comes to Black communities.
Mm,
They don't have the same access to education, and that's another reason. Like growing up in the United States, a lot of people don't realize how many Black people existed in Latin America and the Caribbean during enslavement. Like
facts.
most people were taken there. So
Facts.
more Black people actually speak Spanish than speak English. Like
No,
so,
facts.
so that's
No, you're right. Spanish and French.
that. Like it's like
Yeah.
because there's a the Pew Center actually has done some research, but there's like a lot of different things going on with that. But estimated 200 million Black
Right.
people in Latin America.
Yeah.
So that's like a really, really substantial number. But
Yeah.
it's
Mm,
also this community, like education is used against Black people in Latin
facts.
America, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So I think you bring a good point about like people not knowing things and secrets and like things being withheld. Um,
Right.
I think that's a big issue
In a
globally.
community, yeah, because you got to think about it, like the Moorish people, the Spanish, the Moors were they spoke Spanish, right? And they were the ones that helped civilize Europe, and they the ones that they civilized a lot of different places. I mean, we could go on and break that down. So even when we look at certain languages don't belong to even to Europeans in the sense of what that was, not French, none of these things. It's just that the identity comes with that because, like you said earlier, um the winners, well, you didn't say this, but this is what it really meant. The winners are the ones who wrote the history or rewrote it. But the real truth
Those are the
about certain
stories we
things.
repeat.
Exactly.
Those are the narratives. We continue to share.
Mm,
And it's just like we could just decide to share our own narratives, and that's the crazy thing. A lot of people don't see the value in their own narrative or their own communities. They think it's less
true.
than, and there's a lot of shame around it. So
True.
that's why I think it's really important to tell like authentic Black stories, and why a
Right.
lot of my work is around like marginalized communities, because I feel like the people with
Mm,
$0 know how to
mm,
create value. Like
you're
it's
right.
like those are the alchemists of the world. I was talking about how you can go into any like kind of poor Black community
Yeah.
and find a party, and it'll be like, how are these people getting all this? It's like, well, Mr. John got the ribs, and then Shantae got the drinks, and it's like everybody kind of does a little bit, and the whole
Right.
community can like enjoy this cookout and can enjoy this environment, which is
Right.
like our this is what we do, is our culture. Like, uh,
Hmm.
community is like the foundation, I think, of, Black culture and our heritage. Like, we know how to have some community.
Yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
yeah.
I think the saddest part about it is that, but you're right. Um, if we could focus on that part, if we even call it community, right? Like, because if we could even put the right type of term to the things that we do, I think it'll add more value to it, and it won't just be considered a kickback or a cookout or a party,
But those
because you,
things are still, like, I think those things are important. Like in Trinidad, it's called Lyman, and that is very
Mhm.
important. Like, that is part of mental health. Now they're saying, like, mental health is about having friends. People don't have friends. They don't have friends
Yeah,
anymore.
but
So they're
my point,
sad and depressed and unable to do life.
right? But my point wasn't against that part. My point was to say about how we look at it, like, right, like
Mhm.
it's community though at the end of the day. Like, if we could title it what we want to title it, but the fact that if we know that words have power and they have meaning, the fact that we got to put more emphasis and more importance on the things that we do,
Yeah.
right? My point about saying that we just can't call it a kickback or a cookout or something, because I think you make a valid point. It's community. Is we're building community when we can get together and help chip in to help make sure that everybody can enjoy at least this day, right? And even maybe have some leftovers for people who, struggling in between meals, right? But the point is, that's what community is. And the fact
Hmm.
that we don't use the term community is the fact of why it's not done on a regular basis. It's done on an occasion, a holiday, or whatever that is, versus it being a thing that we could look at as a way, how can we help sustain each other in a way where we could come together where everybody, so nobody's kicking each other's door in. Because at the end of the day, we do have that where we could be more like a more of a community, but the same community is the ones that's kicking in your door. It's not the people from the outside of your community. So that's another thing that I think that, we should do more with putting emphasis and making it more of an importance on what we call the things that we do, right? So let me ask you this real quick, because we want to know a little bit more about you and what got you into this particular version of content creation. Because when I ran across your content, I heard you speaking about, reggaeton and the origination of it, where people mostly give the credit to, and you were really breaking it down in a way where I was like, well, dad, that's really dope. Because as much as we are as a group of people, revolutions that we start doesn't always have to be the ones that we start where it is, guns and stuff. A lot of times through our art, we start revolutions as well too.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you, and let's talk about a little bit about where you from, and and how you identify with the Latino community.
Sure. Okay, so I was born in New York City. I grew up between, like, well, I grew up in Brooklyn, but I've been all over the boroughs. I have family all over the boroughs. I'm not
Right,
one of those people who's like, I've never been to Queens. I've been to those boroughs that I don't like, and I will tell you, I do
right.
not like Queens. I'm not a big fan of Staten Island. I don't know what the point is. What I do
Staten
like the
Island is
ferry,
different.
like, but once you
Very
get
is dope.
there, it's like, when we going
Yeah.
back? So I grew up in New York City. My mom is African American, Geechee. Our ancestors actually
Mm,
um, moved from Savannah, Georgia to New York City during the Great Migration, but our family
right.
was enslaved in Virginia. So we may be cousins. If you a bird, BYRD, let's take over that plantation. And my dad is actually Panamanian, and our ancestors are from Colón.
Mm,
So my line is the originator of reggaeton. So this is my ancestry, this is my lineage. And my ancestors actually built the canal. So we came from, for me,
mm.
Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, St. Lucia, and Martinique. So I'm like, before I was like, yeah, I got to get rid of some of these. This don't make sense, because I'm big on, like, what are you? I don't want to hear that you're 5,000 things. So I was actually pushing away. I didn't want to
Right,
hear Martin. I was like, I don't know. All I know is we're Panamanian. That's all I know is I'm Panamanian. But
right.
it's really important to, like, know that whole story, because
Yeah.
where when you start getting into the history, it starts making sense. And some people think that they're African American, born in the United States, and they don't even realize they have Jamaican ancestry because of the
Facts.
history of this country, of the United States. So that's me. I've lived in Panama. I haven't lived in Colón, though. I've lived in another black area called Boca Sotoro. I've lived in Mexico and Dominican Republic, so I have a soft place in my heart for the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So you see a lot of stuff about Haiti, a lot of stuff about the Dominican Republic on my page. And I went to school initially, it was for business, and I wish you have to do your purpose, you guys. You can try to do everything else and
Gotta
it's
live in your
not gonna
purpose,
work.
yeah.
And it didn't work out for me. Like, so I ended up in theater school and like studying theater, and that's where I really found like, okay, like I'm supposed to be in this industry. So I stayed and I started pursuing an acting career, and that's when everybody was like, oh, you look too young, you look too young. Went to LA to be like a Disney kid, and then apparently I was like, oh, so I'm a black woman. It's not about how hard I work. So I had that whole slap in the face because I grew up in a black bubble in New York City, and it was like African American, Caribbean, like Afro Latino, like, but we was black, we was proud. It was like education focused, lots of totally poverty and like low income,
Yeah,
but everybody thought all you gotta do is work hard and you're gonna make it. If you just try really, really hard, you can
true,
make it.
true.
Unfortunately, they did not prepare us for the extreme racism and misogyny that we would encounter. Like, because I was totally not prepared for all the racism I experienced as an adult. Like, but
Right.
it's such a blessing. It took until I was 22 to really get that. So I feel like lucky I had my experience, but moved to LA. It was kind of crazy. My family wasn't the most supportive for that. So that felt like really, really difficult. So it's like kind of been me being my number one champion and the strangers on the internet that I love so much. Um, Started writing when I realized like they're not hiring black women, which I was like, how do you not do that? Yeah, that's like a thing. So I started writing, producing. I eventually had a film at the Cannes Film Festival, and I started to learn kind of like the behind the scenes of the industry, where I recognized it wasn't just like, oh, this industry is so racist. It's more so about greed and hoarding resources, which racism is in there, but it's like a different thing. It's a different thing, and I feel like that isn't acknowledged as much. Like greed and the hoarding of resources. So that's why if you know somebody, it's helpful if they're actually your friend, because you don't actually need to be smart or skilled to get hired if you have a friend, because they actually just want to live their lives and not work, which I'm not against. Actually, I don't believe in work. I believe that work is a colonial symptoms, like, because nobody was working until white people said you have to go in here and work for 8 hours. And now we have to pay rent to stay in a place, even though the land is here for us, the water is here, the food is here. And you're telling us like everybody has to be poor because you say it, and everybody's fighting each other. But we're all in the same position that we want to get out of. Anyway, did that. What else in LA? I'm in LA. I got into a huge car accident. I didn't like it. I didn't like LA. Friends were really difficult to make. Everybody was trying to get on. Everybody just wanted to be my friend because I'm really, really good at networking. So they would only want to hang out when I was going to like a red carpet or some studio visit, which is fun. LA is fun for that. It's nice. It's nice to go to the studio and watch a movie. Like, instead of going to an actual movie, you never need to go to the movies because you're always watching movies.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so that's a flex. Moved to New Orleans because I was supposed to do a movie on Katrina. movie from hell. The investor left, stopped paying the bills, got kicked out of the hotel,
Yikes.
kicked out the hotel, go to a boarding house in I forgot which town it was, but I took the streetcar a couple times, and it was just a lesson in
Mm.
be your own people. But that's what we got to figure out. We got to figure that out. So did that, moved back to New York, ended up working for CBS, where I started getting serious about BLOACTINA. And when I found a production company actually approached me and wanted to do a show, so I ended up leaving my job because I thought I was going to be rich and famous again. Yeah, so it didn't work out because they didn't understand Afro Latinidad, even though they were Black people. Hey, how are you? Just stopping by to support you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
hey Nicole. Hi, what's up? Um, so yeah, that didn't work out, but it showed me that people need to learn about Afro Latinos. But I was like, I didn't want to teach. I'm like, I'm a filmmaker. I just want to tell my story. Why do I have to teach people? But that was kind of the push I needed to like create the Instagram, and create like the lifestyle channel. So I said, I'm just gonna build this up and create the space so people know that they'll have this space. And then ideally I'll be getting all the brands. Didn't recognize the racism, it was also going to stop me from getting that too. So like I feel like it's been hard because like I just thought I would just move in the world like a regular person, and
Right.
I would just have to do the work, and I would be like, um I would be rewarded for that, but always kind of unfortunately underestimating the racism within the system that I'm moving around, and the sexism, because that's another thing, is
Mm-hmm.
that. And it has been a little tricky. I'm still learning. I'm really trying to. I've been better the last like year,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still really tricky, like navigating all those systems and knowing which one you shouldn't be going towards, because for you as a Black woman it's not going to lead to anything, but like thinking the opposite, like white men have been crazily helpful, and I'm like, I need to ask more of them, because they're the ones that, like, it's like that slot machine always says yes. Not always, like there's some white women who like, get out of here, but they tend to, for some reason, like I don't know if it's the white guilt or whatever, but they will be more open to like listening or passing, an email on and stuff like that. So I'm like rambling a little bit, but there's like a reason for it.
Well, no, it's cool because here's the thing. Here's what I've discovered by being in the industry, because we're filmmakers on our end as well too. We have a bunch of content out, new stuff coming in, a whole nine. So here's what I learned. Anytime, see, racism only exists in situations where we need something from someone. You know how it works out. Like it works out whenever a person knows that you don't need them, then they act right. And that's for us, for those of us that look like us. This is the thing that we have to make sure that we teach ourselves when it comes down to our films and our content and everything that we push. We have to realize that people don't give us nothing when we look like we need it. They only come to us and give us stuff when we think that they don't. Check this out, for example. I remember I saw this thing about Michael Jordan, right? And what it was saying was, yo, my man Michael Jordan making $100 million a year, $120 million a year, right? And in that they were saying that it's not nothing he can buy or nothing that he can't get, which is a fact because he can. But everywhere he went, he would be giving stuff for free. His money was no good. Now let's take this for an example. Now these businesses, they have to pay their staff, they have to pay for marketing, they have to pay all this stuff, but yet and still the person that could come in and cash everybody's check just off of one transaction is the person that could come in and don't have to use his money and he doesn't have to pay just because of that. So when I look at that, And I kind of thought about that. And I looked at, for those of us that are on this end, the only reason why he was able to be that person that no matter how much money he got, his money didn't mean nothing to people, just his presence being there, is because he was able to take what he had and create it to a point where he made people feel that he didn't need them. And that's what he did, because he did not. And if you kind of think about throughout his career, when it came down to the championships or not, did he need his team? Yes, he did. He couldn't have won all those things without his team, but did he need them to close out? Not a single solitary person on his team he needed to close out. He closed out on his own every time. So I always thought about that. And then I always thought about this too. He has a bunch of rings, but a lot of these games went to game 7, and it wasn't based on one bucket, one shot that caused him to win. And even though he was a continuous winner, because he the one that closed out. So, and what I mean by all that is that a lot of us is racism that we allow to happen to us only because we don't believe in ourselves enough. And we are the number one spenders of everything that goes on. We're the number one consumers of everything that's put out there. And to answer your question about why white men are able to, the reason why they give up things regardless of certain things, the only reason why, because they always see us as a commodity. They don't look at us as an equal. They look at us as a commodity. And if you kind of look at the way that their lifestyle has been structured, their lifestyle has been structured because we've been the ones that's been consuming. So anytime they could put us in a position where they could use us, they will. So that's where that comes from. The bottom line is that, we don't believe in ourselves enough to do it on our own before we go to
Well,
somebody.
I would
We don't go with leverage.
I combat that just because people have told me directly to my face I didn't get hired because I was black. Like, so it's not, I'm not going out making this racism thing up. I'm not making this stuff up. Like, it's like
Well, I
real.
don't mean it from I don't mean it from that I don't mean it from that
Oh,
perspective.
okay.
What I mean it from is that the reason why, even if you would have got hired or not, is because we went and asked for it instead of creating the roles that we're looking for. So what I mean by
Especially
that is
with
the
a
people.
lot of people, like, even like, this is not even just like, oh, Nidia, you just experienced this. Like, a lot of people have experienced racism in, like, not even just film and TV. Film and TV is kind of crazy because they feel very comfortable, so too comfortable being racist and sexist and stuff like that. But even outside of the industry, it is an issue, as well as the issue of within, because we live in a white dominant society. Like, you'll have people who are even marginalized who are not supporting their own community, who would rather support the dominant society. So you'll, in like, film and entertainment, you have like black men,
Mhm.
like, not hiring black men, but will hire like a white guy because they think it'll make them look good to the company. So it's that too. And this also happens with women in like venture capitalism. Like, they found that, like, venture women run venture capital owned companies are supporting men more because they think it will look good, to support the dominant person. But it's like, that is
Well, I
not
don't.
helping. Like,
But
so
yeah,
it's
well,
like,
just to have a communication with you with that. Like, no,
yeah.
I don't necessarily. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I want you to make sure that you understand. Like, no, I'm not disagreeing with you. But what I will say from a different perspective, where we continue to forget the things that, and then and this is just a real fact. If you look at every Fortune 500 company, if you look at every industry that is a physical or labor based industry, it's always been men that has been doing it. So whenever a woman invests in a man, it's not based on the fact of it being that. It's more so based on the fact that that's how she got to her place, is because of a man that did it before her, and allow her to have
Mm,
the love that she was able to create.
not
So it's not
necessarily
that. It's
though.
just that. Well, no. Let's
A
think
lot of
about it. Even
women even do
if
vision.
you think about it, let's think about construction. Let's think about infrastructure. Let's think about financial system. Let's think about all of these things. All of these things were invented by men or created by men. Now, this is not me saying that just because I'm a man. We just talking about it from a sense of just facts. Every luxury that a person is able to have in life is because a man created it, not because, women weren't there or women weren't important. That's not it. But I'm saying that the luxuries that we're
Like
able to
what?
have is because of men. Like the fact that you have roofs over your head, like housing, building, roads, construction. Everything that we use is a civilization. Because you even got to think about it. This is not a thing where they try to separate men from women, right? Because they want everybody to be equal when we're not. Even with us as men, we can't do everything women can do, right? But for some reason, when it comes down to the conversation between men and women, they use these things to separate us versus understanding that what the team is meant to be for. Now, if we could kind of really put this into perspective, a lot of people who deal with racist things, or if women are dealing with sexism, right, when it comes down to whatever industry it is,
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, you don't deal with that when you create it on your own, right?
Yes, you
You're not,
do
you're not,
though.
you
But
know, you're
you
not,
you
because if you have
do.
your own team, let's just say this, for example. I can only speak
I've
uh
I'm
for
saying from
for
somebody who's
experience.
experienced it. Like
No.
you
Listen,
will still have that.
I'm saying if you creating it on your own, yeah, you talking about like when it come down to wanting to be in certain places or certain rooms, yeah, you're gonna have to deal with those things. But what I'm saying to you in the sense of going to direct to consumer, it's just based on what a person feels success is. And that's where we fall short at
Well,
as to
of
what we
course,
think success is.
if you don't do anything and you just like, oh, I'll just sit by the beach and like sell pineapples on my own time and live in a cave, yeah, like you can do that. Like that definition of success. If I totally agree with that. Like, but I've been kicked off my own projects. There's even like black people have we
Hmm.
are kicked out of our own corporations at like 2 to 3 times the as white founders. So like that's a real issue. Even if you have your own stuff and you're doing direct to consumer, like that's why I'm so passionate about us having our own economies, because if we have our own economies, all this stuff we won't necessarily have to do. In my mind, and maybe I'm wrong, in my mind, I'm thinking if we have an option and we have black economies that don't rely on tap dancing for white people or trying to impress the white community in any way, shape, or form, from our hair, the way we look, to our credentials, if our stuff is just enough for our own community and we are able to have our own systems, our own markets, in whatever industries that may be, but just having an option, just a black option, I think it will change a lot of things in terms of the black community at large. Um, so yeah, that's
Well,
my
I mean, I
this
agree with
the
you.
work that
I
I
agree with
do,
you.
and I do like more in the arts and culture. So I'm like, my area of expertise is arts and culture. So but that's a problem. It's a big, even if you are an entrepreneur and you are doing your
Well,
own thing, like,
I guess for me, the way that we've been able to approach things, we haven't had to deal with that, and I think
but
the
that and
reason why is because
that's good.
I'm gonna tell you why though, and I mean because that's the thing about having this conversation with people, right? Because a lot of times we look at things from a perspective of like, are things meant to be? Like even me and you having this conversation today, it was meant to be, right? It's not just the fact that we just doing it just based on the show. This is meant to be. So the reason why I say that it's a lot of things that we didn't run into or we don't run into because we create our own thing is because, we use all the platforms that people use in order for them to maintain their own products and the way that they move things. So we do things no differently. And here's how we do it, because it's not a single solitary place in the world where there's not a McDonald's. If it's a civilization there, there's a
The island I
McDonald's.
live on is has no McDonald's.
Well, that's good, because
But
if
that's
that's the
because
case, then that's
they
good.
go. That's because they make sure they don't have it. They
Okay,
specifically
good,
don't.
because I'm
They don't have
glad. But
Starbucks
look,
and no
my I
McDonald's.
wasn't listen. I wasn't about to big up McDonald's. Let me be honest with you on that.
Good,
No, I
because
wasn't about to give them no
uh,
props. I was about to use them for this example though, because they still advertise. And what I mean by that is that it's so many other people in the world, like so many places where they already know McDonald's. They know McDonald's. McDonald's do not have to advertise no more, ever. But every 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to see a McDonald's commercial. And what I'm saying to you is that because when certain things, when it's broke, don't fix it. The one thing that we don't do as content creators, as filmmakers, is that we don't market, we don't take the same enthusiasm into our products as they do. But
Mhm.
then we go to them and have to get them to boost us because we feel like they're going to get us to the next level. And
Yeah.
see, that's where we go wrong. See, that's where I have to pay attention to other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
Because the one thing about it is that Sidney Poitier, Dolomite, Richard Roundtree, so
Mhm.
many other people, I could keep naming them. They all, during a time where it was racism was worse for them than it is for us now, they was able to exist and cut through the and so many other different
Yeah.
families like of creators and content people. So it ain't really like I could look at it, right? And I'm not, that's why I said I'm not disagreeing with you. But what I will say is that right now, if racism is holding anybody back, it's because they are allowing it to, not because it's the dominant thing that's keeping people from going where they need to go. It's just the fact that we got to think more business and we got to get out of asking people for handouts.
I
And listen, I'm not
disagree.
telling you you can, but what I'm saying to you is that we have been successful by doing that. Now, I can't sit up here and say something to you based on something that I haven't done. I'm saying to you, and I'm Googleable. You can look up hashtag Raw1 on any platform and you'll
Okay,
find me.
so
What I'm saying to you is that
this
we
is,
have been successful because we have taken the approach that they have taken without asking them.
but
And
I
that's how we have been able to be successful.
but I think
So,
you're talking about, there's two different things that are happening here. On one hand, there is racism, and it's be but I think it's bigger than racism. I think it's colonialism. On one hand, yeah, it is affecting people, and you have whole institutions that have books to teach other people to oppress
mhm.
our community and other communities. But the two thing that you mentioned, which I totally agree with you, because I am also like an example of this, is during extremely harsh times, you can still have a great life. Even though that sounds crazy, during enslavement, there in South Carolina, I believe it was illegal for Black people to like learn to read and write. Like you could die, but people were writing, reading, they were publishing books. Enslaved people were publishing books. Would you believe that? During a time where it was illegal for you to even know how to read, and Black people were publishing books.
So that's my,
You know,
now you get, so
so
you helping me with my point though, right? By
no, but I
saying
see
that.
what you're saying, but I'm saying I disagree with the
You
whole
can't.
like
You just
it's
made the point. No, you just want to disagree. But you just made the point. Right. Even in the midst of when it was harder for them than it is for us, they still did it.
right,
My point is what I'm saying to you is that that's our energy. Our energy should
right.
not be that this is still existing. No, it's not stopping us. Like what I'm saying to
I
you
see what
is
you're
that listen,
saying. I see what you're saying. I
if
see what
you
you're
are a
saying. I
person
see what
that's
you're saying.
subscribing to the fact that racism is still a
Mhm.
thing or is bothering you and is stopping you, it's
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
you didn't, not you personally, I'm talking about as a person, you did not do your history, because there has been a time in America where racism was way worse than it is now, and our people made a way to do
Shackles.
it
Yeah.
on their own. And because they did it on their own, they were successful. Now we have lost that mentality. Why? Because most of us have turned into a political party. And in that political party, we have been given things. We have been given welfare. Because here's the one thing that I did not say to your example earlier. You were right that when you go into the poor, impoverished communities, they do have so and so bringing the ribs and so bringing the sodas and all that. But most of the times that they bought these things is because they were using government assistant money to pay for it. Because a person with no job, unless they stealing, is not going to be able to contribute anything. The fact that most of these people that were in these places are impoverished was because of food stamps, WIC, and all these other things that they were given from people who actually went to work, right? Because I grew up in these situations. I'm from
I
East
see
Orange,
what
New
you.
Jersey,
But
right?
everybody, I
So
don't.
I grew up. listen, hold
So,
on for a
so
second. You
their
gotta hear. You
cookouts.
gotta let me get. You gotta let me get my
Okay.
point out before you able to, respond. Because what it is that you probably would get my point if you let me get through. Because what I'm saying to you, as a product of that environment, is which I'm saying, I'm a product of that environment, of the same one that you said. So the circumstances of standing in line for government cheese, going to the store with food stamps and had to have the book or getting the EBT card. These are all part of our community and how we were able to survive based on the way that people, adults before us, chose to live their lives, not the children. It's what the adults choose to live. So what I'm saying to you is that yes, all of these circumstances do exist. But in this right now, if anybody is yelling or screaming that racism is the means of why they cannot be successful today, it's because they didn't pay attention to the people before them. And because the people before them had it worse than us and they did it at a higher level than us because they believed more than us. They wasn't looking for nobody to give it to them. They didn't go to Hollywood. They created their own Hollywood. Remember, Hollywood used to be in New Jersey before it went to California. Like, right? Just like how we keep talking about Egypt and Africa, but they got more pyramids and sphinx and everything right here in the United States than they do in Africa. So it's so much stuff that people have been telling us that we have not been able to go get the information ourselves because we're going by what people are saying. And no, I agree with you when not that there are racism exists, but what I don't agree with is the fact that if you're not successful because of racism, there's no way.
Oh,
There's
okay.
no way. There's
Well,
no way a person right now should be worried about racism in this day and age because we create the culture. The only difference is we gave the culture away because we want somebody else to give us a deal. We want to be on so bad. We want to say that we was at Warner Brothers. We want to say that we at Disney. These are the things that we want to have on our resume because of what it looked like. We don't want to say that we on Sparking Conversation because this is our or whatever, right? Because we don't look at it and hold the same value as we should. But then we want people to look at us and value us, but we don't value ourselves. So no, I agree with you in the sense of this racism exists. Yes, from our own people. Our own people have hurt us before a white person will physically right now. Go into the wrong place. Right? You look like them and they'll hurt you before a white person will. But what I will say is this. If you are a person that is a creative or anything and you're not successful based on the way that you feel like racism, it's on you. It's really your fault because nothing can stop you if you think business. You got to do what they do, not ask them for a handout. But you let me ask you this in the sense of
wait, because I want to respond to what you said though.
okay, go ahead, go ahead.
So I'm like, now I need to like, I feel like I need to have my notes. But some of the things that you touched upon was crime. And crime is normally intraracial. So normally people don't go to another community to commit crime. They will commit crime in the environment that they already live in. So the reason that you, as a Black person, it's more likely that another Black person will rob you or assault you is not just because they're trying to hurt Black people. It's just because y'all are in the same community. Same for the white people. Most of the time they're getting robbed by other white people, that they're not getting robbed by Black people, which is why the
Facts.
news loves that story.
Facts. Yeah.
That's a sensational story because normally it's for the same thing. Something that you mentioned about welfare, it seemed like you were talking about welfare as in like as if people who were on welfare should be ashamed and as if they were taking something from other people. And I just wanted to
Wait,
talk about
wait, wait,
that.
wait. Who no.
I want no,
Before you go there, no. That's not what I said. I
that's what
said
I
I
was
am a product.
perceiving from
No,
your
I said
well,
I'm a
yeah.
product. I said I'm a product of that environment. What I was telling you is the way that I grew up, right? So I cannot shame the way that I grew up. What I'm saying to you is that as a person who grew up that way, I understand the system and what that was. And welfare was taxpayer dollars being used to give to people, subsidize people who did not work from the people who did work. Now that I do know, and it's only and because of that, people have been able to do or live a lifestyle generations behind generations, grow up in a project of able-bodied people who could really work, who chose not to because the system allowed them to be there. And I'm saying that because of my own generation of families that's there. So whether a person can take pride in it or not, it has nothing to do with me. What it all has to do with is that whether you are a person that lives by fact or fiction. Fact of the matter is, if you got food stamps, if you got WIC, if you got Section 8, is because a person went to work and their tax dollars was taken out to be given to you in order for you to do that. So whether you are appreciative of the people that go to work every day or not, that's on you. But as a person that received those benefits, I'm just saying this is where they came from. They didn't come out of thin air. They came from the
Right.
people who actually went to work, not the people who collected the benefits. Because remember, as black men, we can't go down there and get food stamps like a black woman could.
Well,
A black woman with a child.
it sounded like there was something negative in collecting food stamps
Yeah, no, it's negative.
okay,
It's
so no,
negative.
okay, I misread
No,
that because I
yeah,
just
nah.
want to say most of the time it's the poor people who are putting into that because billionaires don't even pay taxes. So the billionaires are not, taking care of us. It's just poor people taking care of poor people anyway.
Well,
And
no,
I
that's not true.
also
That's not
want to
true either. That's not true either. Don't let people lie to you on that.
well,
But
no, it is. It's
billionaires
facts.
don't,
Billionaires are
billionaires,
not paying taxes. Like,
hold on. Their corporations pay taxes. Them as individuals might not have to pay
they
taxes
don't pay
based on
income
certain
tax.
loopholes. That's based on certain loopholes, but their companies that they pay a 25% tax. So the companies do pay tax. So that's what I'm saying. It's another myth that they've been telling us out here in this in our
It's not, but
community.
it's not a myth. Like it's based on the IRS. We can
No,
see
no,
how
no,
much Jeff
mommy.
Bezos pays
No,
in tax. We
that's
can
not
see
true.
how much
Yeah,
Mark
yeah,
Zuckerberg
yeah, yeah.
is paying in
But that
tax.
has nothing to do with
Trump.
Facebook. That has nothing to do with
I'm
Facebook. All
not.
right.
No,
So
I didn't
as a
even mention
millionaire,
Facebook.
no. But this is the company that he owns. He makes money
No,
based
I'm
off of
talking about Mark
Facebook.
Zuckerberg. I'm saying
Yeah,
Mark
Mark Zuckerberg
Zuckerberg
owns
is not
he owns
paying
Facebook.
taxes. NYDIA is paying taxes, though. I'm paying more taxes than
No, no,
Mark
no.
Zuckerberg.
Hold on. Check this out. This is why in our community we got to learn economics, right? Because no, the company, the money that he makes comes from Meta, right? That's the money that he makes. It comes from Meta. So the company Meta itself pays taxes. Not only does it pay taxes, the employees, the taxes taken out of the employees that work for Meta.
I
Mark
didn't say Meta.
Zuckerberg,
I said
I
I pay
know.
more taxes than Mark
No, no,
Zuckerberg,
no.
which is a fact.
Listen, let me help you out. I'm trying to help you out. I get what you're saying, but that's not how that works. This is what I'm
But
trying to
that's
help you
literally the
because
fact.
you're going to no, that's not the fact. I'm trying
You
to
said
help you.
facts.
Yeah, but
He didn't pay any taxes though.
I'm
I
trying to give you
pay
the
taxes.
facts. No, no.
He did not.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. I'm trying to help you understand that, as a business owner, you're not subject to the tax of a person who gets a W-9. So
Well,
what I'm trying
your
to do is I'm
argument
trying to
is
help
that
give you a thing is that Mark
you
Zuckerberg makes his money off of Meta. That's how he makes his money. That's how he makes his money. So in other words, the company that he makes his money for pays taxes. Him himself doesn't work for the company. So you don't get an income tax take from unless you work. You don't work, you own the company. You don't work for the company, you own the company. That's how we are going to be. When you, as Black Tina, once you get to a certain level, you're going to be the same way. You're not going to be paying taxes. Your
wait,
company is going to be
we
paying the
can
taxes.
sure, but still the truth. I still pay more taxes than Mark Zuckerberg. Like that still didn't change the fact
No,
that
you
he
don't.
doesn't pay
No,
taxes
you
when I
don't.
do.
No, you don't. Yo, listen. All right. Well, we'll talk. If you, we could have that and a different thing because
But
what I would have
that
to
wasn't
do
even I didn't even
is I would
finish
have
the
to show you. Go
But
ahead. Go
that
ahead.
was,
Because
but yeah. But
yeah,
my
let's
point in
go.
talking about the welfare and talking about like how basically poor people are helping other poor people, is we also as a community, if you're talking about the African American community, not only the African American community, but other Black communities around Latin America and the Caribbean, we never got our reparations. Like there are people who their 40 acres was taken away, and some people didn't even get that 40 acres and a mule. I'm sure you're familiar with the 40 acres and a mule that I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
Spike Lee has
Yeah.
even named his company that. So the reason that the welfare system even has most of Black people aren't even getting all that welfare. It's mostly
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
so I don't even know why.
Facts. No,
I don't know why
facts.
it becomes a whole thing about the Black community, but
No,
uh,
you right.
the
No, that's a
reason is
fact.
uh the Black community created a global economy. However, it's just basically leeching off the labor of this group, and there is no reciprocity. So I think that's kind of like the issue with like the some people feel like there's shame for welfare, and I do think there's people right now who should be on certain parts of welfare and they won't because they are simply ashamed of it. They are simply ashamed to have to do that. And the way the system works, it works to take all your time so you can't even get a job. They can't even just give you cash assistance. This you have to work kind of part-time now. I know, like you have there's like meetings you have to
Yeah,
take
yeah,
and take
you
on it.
yeah,
So
of
it's not even
course.
like, oh, I'm not working. It's like
No, you
I
should.
go give you out all my time and you
Yeah, you
give me
should.
enough to be poor. But that's where it comes
No,
the
poor
lack of
is a mindset. Poor is a mindset.
well, in turn,
Like
I guess I
each and
shouldn't use
every
the
one of
term
us,
poor. I should use the term like low income and
low
like
income is that's a
financially
mindset too. That's a mindset too.
entrapped.
Yeah.
So
How the
that's
fuck
kind of
do you
it. But
see
I do think people don't have access
people?
to learn about jobs and systems that they could be in that could change their situation. And then there's fear from even sometimes their own community into taking a different route. Like
Yeah,
people
nah.
will say, no, don't do it. Just stay here. Try to be a cop. Try to be a this. Try to be a that. So I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of reasons, but I'm like, don't other. I see what you're saying about the don't even acknowledge racism because I'm into law of assumption. So I see what you're saying. Like if we're not even like if we don't allow it to have any power, like then if it doesn't exist in my mind, I'll never encounter it.
I'm trying to tell you.
I I
And
appreciate
here's
that, but
another thing I want to
tenets,
say.
but
Here's
I have
another thing because you
encountered it
fighting it. You fighting me. I'm trying to give you
because
the game, but you fighting it. But you getting it. It's just taking you a while. But
well,
here's
because
another thing I'm trying to
I've
give you. Here's another
experienced it
thing.
when I wasn't even
We
having it on the table, and
but
if I would have
but
thought
we
that way, I
all
could have protected my
what,
business.
let me and this is what I'm trying to tell you. As people of color, as melanated people, we all have suffered against it. But the only time that we really had to really think about the time that we did is because we went to ask for something from somebody. It's we had a need and then we got rejected. Because that's what we deal with as a group of people. We deal with rejection more than we deal with anything else in this world. As Black men, we are rejected out of the home. This is why welfare is able to exist. Remember, you can't have welfare as long as a man is in the home. So if there's a woman that's
You can't
taking
have.
public
Can you
assistance,
repeat that again?
you as long as a man is in the home, a woman does you can't get public assistance. You
Is
can't
that
get public
like
assistance as long as a man is in the house.
and
And that's a fact.
what is that like? Is that like 2025
That's
right now?
since it's been in the beginning. Yes.
Because I know
Even right
people who are
now.
men who have Section 8.
You know men who got Section 8, but you don't know a married man who got Section 8. You don't know a married woman who
Yes, I
got Section
do.
8. If you do, it's because
I know
nobody know they
families who
married.
have cash
Check this
assistance.
out.
But the thing is, like, what does that have to do with
I
like
guarantee you that because that is part of the stipulation. Now, what I'm telling you is that what I'm trying to help you to
I don't know.
understand real quick
Okay.
is that whenever it comes down to whenever you are in a position where you need from people and you're just taking what they're giving you, then you're subject to whatever they give you. If you are poor or if you in that position, it's only because of your mindset.
So you don't believe black
It's
people should
never
go and
believed
get
that it's
jobs.
your circumstances. You know what I mean? Like your circumstances
What
is
about
based on
so you don't
your
agree
mindset.
so you don't agree in black people applying for jobs?
Don't agree. What do you mean?
Because what I'm receiving by what you're saying is like black people shouldn't go out and get any like I don't understand how you can not need anything at some point you are going to need maybe even a loan, a job. Like you have to apply for a job if
Yeah,
you
but
don't have anybody in your family
what am I
that
saying that makes
can
you feel like I'm saying that people shouldn't
because
get a
you were
job? I'm
saying
saying that people should get a job.
if you
No,
need something from somebody
I'm
else, because somebody has to like give you a job, and
no, no,
if you
no. I
can't,
don't mean no, no, no. I'm not
yeah,
saying that. That's because see, here's the thing. You probably will get it if you wasn't in defense. Because look, check this out. What I'm saying to you is about welfare in general. It's, if you're going to welfare, that's because somebody is giving you something. You didn't earn it.
I'm not even talking. I wasn't even talking
No,
about the.
I
I
am.
moved
I
on
am.
from welfare.
No. We talking about whenever somebody is looking for somebody to give them something
No,
in
I'm
this,
talking
in the
about
sense of
a
rejection.
job. Like, so you're saying, because some people consider when you apply for a job, they're giving you that job. So that's why I was
No,
like,
no, no,
oh,
no.
you
We
don't
not.
believe in. Okay,
No.
cool.
No. We not. That has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Like I don't like people. If you have a job, that's what we're talking about. Because if you have a job, you wouldn't be on welfare. What
If
we
you're
saying is that
applying
we
for a
want.
job, though, that's the act of asking, and that's where people can run into the racism issue that you say doesn't exist.
No. I didn't say that racism don't exist. I said racism always exists for us in the sense of when we're asking for something. Going to get a job is, if you look at that and you deal with
That's
racism in that job, that's fine. But you can always go find another job. Now, most people have created their own jobs, right? Because there's a thing where certain people have been able to do a couple of things. Like if they were able to get housing assistance or public assistance and get a check. Because I remember at some points people were getting a check. Now, did they go take that check and enroll into a community college? Because they on Section 8, they rent $35. So did they take that check and go roll into a community college and learn a trade? So that way they don't have to worry about it. They can make more money than the person that's going to do the 9 to 5. It's all about your mindset. It's a $300 trade. You can take a class at night for 3 months and get certified for $300. And now you could be somebody's electrician or somebody's plumber. So what I'm saying to you is all about the mindset. Whenever they tell us that we don't have opportunities, they're crazy, because if you got a smartphone, if you have a cell phone, you have access to information. It's whatever you choose to look up. Most people looking up fighting, or they looking up things that depress them, or their phones are attached to the things that they think about the most, and they're showing them things in their feed. But most people don't use their smartphone for what it's for. If they would do that, then you can get off of any situation you win. It just depends on how you do with your mindset. You have to change it. Like I said to you earlier, we deal with racism because we think about it. If I don't go in there, if I don't look, if I want to put a movie out, if I need to do that and I need to get everything together to get the movie, I rent the equipment, I get with the people, we put the movie out. We don't wait for no studio to tell us, right? And
Right,
then
but
if
you
you
have to
kind of
have the
think about it,
resources to do all that stuff to begin
but
with.
that's
So
why we have our own clothing lines. That's why this is why we hustle. It's just like with anything, you got to have something to sell. It's not a company out here that don't have a product to sell. We just have to have stuff to sell. In
so
our community, we do all
how'd you fund your company?
by promoting our content. First of all, when you promote your content, and then see, here's the thing about having it. We got a phone, we pay a cell phone bill. So when it's time to shoot, we already paying every month to have our phone. So it ain't just for phone calls. So we filming. So we're
Right.
not using no excuse. So we got our film. So long as we pay a cell phone, that's how we get our content out. Period.
And what's
So
your
once you get your content out, it starts to move around. And then when people see you, you start to market and promote other things that you have, like clothes and other things like that. So then people like what you got, what they do, they buy and they support. We sell shirts, we do all these things. Why? Because we put it in front of the people. Now, how you get there is that, yes, you go get a job if you need to get a job, right?
But
You and
that's
your
what I'm saying.
people.
There's people trying to get jobs, can't get jobs.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying to you is that sometimes it's because of where they are. I had to get up out of where I'm from,
Where are you from?
right? I'm from Jersey,
Which part of
right?
Jersey?
East Orange.
Oh, okay. I know East Orange people.
Right. So I'm from Jersey, but I had to get out of Jersey in order for me to find other opportunities. I toured up and down. I've done music, I've done television, movies, all that. But it's because I went and followed the vision, not follow people. Now, there's a lot of other people in this world who get a vision, but they don't follow it. That's all of us get that,
Why do you think
right?
they don't follow it?
Because they don't believe in themselves. Why? Because of our circumstances. You know, we grow up in a broken homes. We grow up in where people don't tell us that we could be something. They tell us what we're not going to be. Because that's all I heard growing up is what I'm not going to be. That's all I heard. You ain't gonna be this. You're not gonna do that. You're gonna be like this. You're gonna be like that. You're not gonna make it to 18. I've heard that all my life until I said that I want to prove them wrong. The reason why I did it is because I said I'm gonna show you, and I showed them. But that's what gave me the tenacity. There's a lot of other people who take those words and they internalize it. So it's
Yeah.
harder for them to get over what they hear versus what they know.
Yeah.
How many of us go through that right now? Like, yo, listen, you said it earlier today. Like, you've seen rejection and misogyny because men look at
I
attractive women and they say,
I'm
yo,
trying
listen.
to handle the rejection. It's like a whole but yeah, it's but I for me I've lived in black environments, and that for me was the best in terms of like mind clarity. Everything wasn't perfect, but it's different. It's a different lifestyle, and I do believe like living in like a white dominant society, it's like another layer of stuff that just
Right.
you have to deal with. Like everybody doesn't have to, but if we live like where I live right now, I'm in Massachusetts. It's stuff I didn't have to think about when I lived in
When you were
Panama, when
living
I
on the
lived in
place.
Dominican Republic,
And
even Mexico. And they
and
not even most,
I
there's black places in
exactly.
Mexico, but most of Mexico is not a bunch of black folk, but
Exactly.
they not bothering nobody.
And
Nobody. But out
you
here,
know, it's a myth, and it's a myth. You know why? Because we don't travel. But listen to some of these comments. Let's get into some of these comments real quick before we go, because I want to make sure that we understand. Like, even the people that's watching, they're saying. So basically, what Yessie was saying, like, this is known as a brainwashed society, which we all can agree on, right? And then she
yeah,
was saying that by repeated messages, social
yep,
norms, and manipulation leading them to adopt
yep,
beliefs,
yeah,
behaviors, or values without critical thought, which is what we was talking about earlier, but people don't change their mindset, right? All right, some examples of this: media, message influence, education systems, cultural conditioning, groupthink, conformity, distractions, and consumerism, which we all agreed on earlier. That's what we do. We consume
mm-hmm,
as a group of people. Now, this is what I like right here, because as she's done all kind of stuff. She's been a manager, leader. She's done interviews, all these other different things. But the top three reasons why people don't get a job is lack of experience or skill, poor resume or interview skills, job market and economic conditions, criminal record, background issues, and discrimination. And now we can add credit to that list.
well, and
Because
then
now if your credit is
yeah,
messed up, you might not get a job in certain places. But here's the thing about jobs and about people in credit and all these other things, that even what she said, every single reason that a person may not get a job, whether it be lack of experience or skills, that's not an excuse no more, because your phone and ChatGPT can give you the breakdown of
that's
anything.
true.
Poor resume or interview skills, that's not
That
true, because you could
GPT
go on
again.
YouTube as well for the interview portion. There's no thing. Job market and economic conditions. That's not against them either, because you can pull up your phone, find out which places have the best
Mhm.
for what you feel, and you can move there. All right. Criminal record, background issues. Now we know that's based on
Yeah.
choices we make when we're younger. And discrimination goes along with what you said. Racism
But
and
the
discrimination is a part
economic
of it.
conditions is a big part right now because we are in a recession and a downturn, and people who are veterans in film and entertainment, they're foreclosing their homes. So if you're watching this and you want to be in film, TV, keep on doing what you want to do, but just know this is the hardest you'll ever work. It's gonna go up again. We're gonna go back. You know, the good life
Yeah,
is coming
everything
back.
cycles. Everything cycles.
Exactly, everything is in cycles. But if you can make it now, the money's gonna look even nicer. Like in 10
It's
years.
gonna come down. You just gotta stay your course. Well,
Right,
look, let's
right.
do this, man. Before
It's
we
true.
get out of here, I want to make sure that people they could reach you, because like I said, there's a lot of information that you give out about the history of Afro Latinos and stuff like that. And then on top of that, I think it'll be great for you to be on a couple of panels. We got some panels coming up, right? Where it'll be great for you to be on there, because I like the fact that people can have a difference of opinion without it becoming an argument, and without it becoming a thing where it seemed like it's an attack. So I like your energy. I just want you to know that, because
I am
not very
subject.
few people You are. I definitely can take that. But at the end of the day, it comes back around to you, and at least you admit it. Like there's few people who won't admit the fact that, you know what, now I get what you were saying. Most people will just let it go and be like, you know what, I ain't gonna tell them. So I like that about you too. But I think that there is room for communication between different people in order to come to a solution. Because the bottom line, we need the solutions, not the problems. We all
And we
know the
need to
problems.
argue. We need to argue first to get it out the way. Like the thing is, my
Get it
thing
out the
with
way.
these things, I wish we could do this in person because like I argue with
Yeah.
everybody. Like my family will like they'll be talking, they'll be like, Nadia, did you just get cussed out? And I'm like, no, that's actually love. They're on my side. So I'm used to debate. And that's not negative in my community and my family. Like I argue with
Right.
people that I love. Like so
Well, that's good.
it's like not and it's like well because you do have a difference of opinion, and like we were talking earlier about our different tribes of different ways of life. Like my mom's African American, my father's Panamanian. They have a completely different way of lifestyle, what's appropriate. They worship different. One is Catholic, one is Baptist, like for real Baptist, like hats
Right.
and everything. So it's like it is sometimes I grew up around like tension and I
Tug of
see
war, like a tug of war.
because
Yeah.
they was both trying to claim. They was like, you not one of them. You black at the end of the day. I was like, they black too. They didn't say they wasn't black. And it's like,
Right.
you Panamanian, right? It's like, I know I'm Panamanian. I know where I come from. Like, so I'm proud, deeply proud, and I'm proud African. Like I'm
Yeah,
very
man.
proud. I can't wait to go to Africa and start building. I'm right now today I decided I'm going to look up Benin Togo because that's where a lot of my lineage comes from.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to
Yeah.
support that and I'm going to be a part of the arts and bring people so we can relax because Black people deserve leisure. It doesn't have to be a
Mm.
fight all the time. If we fight, I want to fight, drink in one hand, something else in the
In
other,
another
and
hand, yeah,
let's
yeah,
fight, let's
chilling.
argue,
Well,
and then
look,
let's.
let me say this thing. You might get a lot of good information out of next week's conversation because I got a young brother on that's been head of this organization, which Ghana has opened up the doors to African Americans to come over there and build. So
Yes,
he's one of the
yes.
brothers that's heading that whole situation, and we're gonna be on here talking. I met him at the reparations convention in DC, so he's gonna be
Okay,
on
why
next
didn't
week.
you tell me about that, Ra? We
That
talking
was
about
last year.
welfare.
Yeah, yeah, that was
I was
last year.
gonna,
We went
what?
out
I was
there.
gonna say it, and I didn't even get to say it because we was arguing about something else. Because I was about to say reparations, and then you probably would have shared that. Because I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that
yeah. I
is my
did.
favorite
I
conversation.
went to the convention, and we got a lot of information. But this brother has already petitioned and got everything ready for the government. They already have got
Okay,
the bill. They got everything ready.
I
They
want
got
to.
the financials and all that.
Yes.
So they're talking about, Ghana is offering 200 acres, 250 acres, if I'm not
Wait,
mistaken.
wait. 250 acres. This is so Ghana's. Oh, because I heard that they're creating communities for. Is it for just African Americans or just anybody at Black?
Nah, just African Americans because they want to try to get them to come back. You know what I mean? Or, well, they trying to offer an opportunity for them to come. They offer them only 200 acres right now as a starter, and if they get everything up and running and developed, then they'll give them more.
Is
The
this
the only
one
diff
person or many people?
as far no, it's wait a minute, it's a certain number. It's in the hundreds of thousands that
Hundreds
they're
of
allowing
thousands
people to come over. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
on
the
200
conversation next week.
acres.
Yeah, it's
How are they
going to
gonna
be.
fit on
They're
200
gonna start
acres?
off with 200 acres, right? And then from
Oh,
there, if they
okay,
get it all together, then they'll be able to move it on. But
okay.
the plan, of course, is for a certain number of people because financially they're trying to get from the government a certain number for amount for a certain amount of people, and then develop it and allow people to come through. The only difference is they don't feel like a lot of people will take the offer. Like a lot of African Americans won't
Um,
take the offer to
is
go
it?
over there.
But you have to invest in it, right? So how much is the
Well,
investment?
this is the information that we're gonna get next week because
Okay, okay. So
my
okay.
thing for them was all right. So economically, how y'all gonna do it if the dollar is crashing? So that means y'all gonna have to be in a digital space. So they gotta be more of an economical education in order to move to another country, but accept US dollars in
And
order for you to go to
cultural
this country.
too. You have to get comfortable with cultural, because that's a thing that people don't realize. We've been living, if you grew up in the United States, you've lived in a Western environment. The brainwashing
That's
that
true.
Yesi was talking
That's
about,
true.
these societal norms are Western, white
That's true.
from Europe. The
That's
societal
true.
norms in Ghana are going to be different. You cannot run down somebody saying, "Hey, I don't have no ice. Where my ice? You being rude." No,
Yeah, you
you're being
cannot. Yeah,
you're being rude.
you're gonna have to
Like,
change. You're gonna have
so
to change up
we
some
have to
things,
go
y'all.
back to our ways, and that's where we need, like, to have a conversation about how do we undo this and remember, okay, we can do
Yeah,
this. We can
we
live
gotta
like
learn.
this is our
We,
natural way of
yeah,
being, and this
we
is the
gotta.
way it should be.
Yeah, we gotta relearn, yeah. Well, that's why I said so. Next week episode will be dope. You might want to catch
Okay.
it,
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that information, and then I'll connect y'all, if y'all need to, and you can, you know what I'm saying, possibly have a conversation in your own with them as well too. So, yeah, let's continue to build. But before we get out of here, please tell everybody how they can find you and how they can get more information on how to contact you, and find out what you got going on.
Yes, well, thank you, Ross, so much for inviting me on your platform. It's been fun. Like, hope
No
I didn't
doubt.
like rock the boat too much. That wouldn't be
Nice. I loved it.
it.
Yo, listen, this
Um,
is wild.
but you can find me at blacktinamedia.com. And also, on the 24th, I'm having a webinar, The Whitewashing of Black Latino Music. So we go over a few different genres like reggaeton, salsa, tango, bomba, Afro Latin jazz, and talk about how they've been whitewashed. Find me on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Blacktina. And yeah, so
Yo, that's what it is. I want y'all to make sure y'all check her out because, like I said, the history and music and culture is part of our community. Yo, like no, it does. We like I said, we're separated by language and skin color, but for the most part, when it comes down to this music and when it comes down to arts and culture, we the inventors of it all. And I think it's very important for y'all to go get this history because if you did, then it will give you a better understanding of how we're connected more than we're separate. We have to realize, the African drum is the original drum. And if we can understand how that has translated from where it started in Africa to all over the world and to where it is today, and understand that without that drum beat, there is no music, right? Like we understand that there's different things that make up the sounds of music and harmonies and notes and all that. But what we do understand is that the base is the bottom, the foundation is that drum. So I want all of y'all to make sure y'all tap in with Nadia, check out what's going on, check out that webinar, and just hit her up and let her know. Like, if y'all got questions and stuff, because we know tonight we didn't talk a lot about that, which was great because what we did talk about was what is needed to be talked about. And that's what I love about Sparking Conversation, because that's what it's
yeah,
about.
it's
It's
spark.
about sparking conversation. Sometimes, we want to talk about what the spirit wants us to talk about, not what we plan to do. And a lot of times, I tell you guys all the time, if you allow the spirit to lead, then you won't go wrong. But until next week, y'all know what to do. Same bat channel, same bat time. And like I say each and every week, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. So until next week, y'all hold it down out